Video. Here we are.
Yay!
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm really good and cold.
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold here. We are in Arlington, Virginia today at USO headquarters.
Yes.
Enjoying coffee.
Yes.
I'm drinking
Coffee.
decaf because I am with child.
I told her, guys, that she's so tiny. She's so tiny.
Well, thank you. You're too kind. But I'm Nicole Vogel. I'm the USO Senior Programs Manager with Military Spouse Programs. Excited to be here with our guest, Brittany Boccher, 2017 Military Spouse of the Year. A little bit about me. I'm an Air Force spouse of 10 years. Love being a military spouse, love working for the USO. And I don't want it to be about me today though. I want it to be about you. So you are.
So yes, I'm Brittany Boccher, like she said, 2017 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year. But really I've been a military spouse for 13 years. It seems longer, but it's only been 13 years. Wow. And we have moved 9 times in 13 years, 4 deployments. The kids have changed schools twice,
Okay.
And we've bought 2 homes. So that kind of runs through our numbers of life. And I've gone through many seasons during that time as an Air Force spouse. So I've done the being the stay-at-home spouse. Yeah. I've done being the stay-at-home mom, the volunteer advocate full-time, and now crossing into the working mom military spouse.
Many hats.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at today.
We're excited to have you here on this very cold day. And just so we're aware of where you guys are all calling in from and joining us from, if you could all just type in the chat box actually right now. So Brittany and I know where you're coming from, where you're stationed right now. And so we'll get an idea of who's, we've got Fort Campbell, I see. Excellent. And we'll see some other locations. We've got Arlington. Oh, we should have just had you come and sit in here with us. Washington, D.C., State College, Pennsylvania. We've got Michigan, Fort Stewart. Yes, Georgia. San Antonio. This is fun. You guys are all over. And we can come back to that here in a little bit, too, to see where else people are coming from. Well, let's see here. Let's just jump right into it.
All right.
Okay, so we're here today to talk about military spouse life, your journey as a military spouse before becoming military spouse of the year, and then what happened after, what you jumped into. Also wanted to talk about your workshop, Discovering Your Spark, and the workbook you created, Finding Your Color in a Camouflaged World. So let's start with you became a military spouse.
Yes.
Start there.
So my military spouse journey, I often say it was unique, but really I don't think it was really that unique, other than I met my husband in an airport. So I met him in an airport. I'm a pretty forward type person, exchanged business cards, and we communicated by email, and then this is dating me. AOL Messenger back then. Yeah. AIM, and then 6 months later we were engaged, and he got deployment orders, and so we hurried to the Justice of the Peace. We got married, and then we of course planned a wedding.
Right.
And so that was my thrust into military life, and I stayed in Houston, Texas, where I was. Okay. Because he got the deployment. So we married. We didn't really tell anybody we married, except our parents.
I feel like that happens a lot.
Yeah, we kind of kept it we got engaged. Right. We were really married. And so I stayed in Houston, and he deployed. And that was really a time in the military when deployments were, they were hard, they were long, they were tent cities. There was not a lot of communication. It was satellite phones, and it was a rough time of the deployments. And so I found it really challenging because at the time I didn't have that network. So I had not been to the base formally. So I didn't have a spouses club. I didn't have a readiness center. I was living in Metro Houston, you know?
Yeah.
And so I didn't have that support group, and I had all my family, but they didn't understand, what life was like. They just,
Right.
they didn't understand when I was like, oh, I haven't heard from them in 5 days,
Yeah.
and I'm watching
like,
the
why
news
not?
and
Right.
seeing what's happening, kind of thing. So it was a really tough spot. And then he came back and we moved to Columbus, Mississippi, middle of nowhere. And I tell him all the time, he would be like, oh yeah, you're going to be able to come here and like get a job and it's going to be great.
Right.
And I was working in a nonprofit as an
Okay.
executive. So I was like, okay, so I leave my job, I leave my family, pack everything up, move to Columbus, Mississippi. And I get there and I'm like, wait a second. There's like, it's the smallest town.
Oh,
There was little to no chain anything. Like
Okay.
no Starbucks. Nearest Target was in Alabama.
Which was how far away?
Like a little over an hour
Okay.
away. So crossing into another state to go to Target, I'm talking first world problems, right?
Right.
You can't get
Absolutely.
to
But
Target.
still, that's
I know. And then
that's
the
a problem.
base, not even a stoplight on the base, so
Yeah.
it's just tiny. If you wanted food, you went to the bowling alley, like
Okay.
that kind of spot. And I was
Small.
like, oh my gosh, like this is life, like this is what we're gonna do, and so I was in a rut there. I mean, I was just like feet dug in, heels dug in, like this cannot be. Like I don't fit in here. I can't fit in here. I can't find a job.
Mhm.
I don't see any opportunities. And it just caused so many problems for me and my husband.
Right.
And of course it was temporary.
Sure.
And then we moved from there and we got Colorado. So I was
Okay.
like, okay, thank you for taking me from the middle of nowhere and putting me in Colorado to where
Right.
there was stuff. So, each assignment I slowly became more and more, involved
Right.
and reaching out. But
How far along were you as a military spouse when you got to Colorado? Like, how long were you with?
so a little over 3 years.
Okay.
Because we were
Okay.
in
So you're getting your feet
Mississippi.
wet.
Yeah. So, but Mississippi was tough. I mean, it was, when I look at myself today of where I'm at, it's definitely one of those, I wish I knew then what I know now, because I really didn't take the opportunity to enjoy or really look at the positive of that assignment.
Right.
And the funny thing is last summer, we went back to that assignment for a vacation. We took our kids
Really?
to just go back and see
Yeah.
like how much it had grown. And now looking at it, I'm like, oh man, this is such a quaint town. And like, just look at all the positive things.
Right.
But when I was living it then,
grass is
I was
always
just
greener.
like,
Yeah.
I want to go anywhere but here,
Right.
Yeah.
No, I feel a lot of spouses go through that. So.
Yes. So I've been there. For all of you that might be there right now, or maybe you were there and you're pulling yourself out of that, like I've been the feet dug in
Yeah.
spouse. And I wish, somebody would have said, hey, let's think of some positive
Right.
that you can get out of here. Like,
Right.
what can you do to grow out of this spot?
So you got to Colorado.
Yes.
You got involved.
I did. I started getting involved there.
And then what happened from there?
So in Colorado, that's where I finally started taking a little more control back of my life, because I realized that I was living for like the assignment. I was living for the TDY and the schedule, for the location.
Yeah.
So I let the geographic location really dictate life for me in Mississippi. And when we got to Colorado, I was like, you know what? I need to do something.
Yeah.
And I met a military spouse there who did photography, and she sparked my interest in photography, and I started like kind of learning from her, dabbling into that, and I decided to go back to school.
Okay.
Because I had struggled there with employment as
Right.
well, or the type of employment I wanted to do. And so I had to get out of my own way and say, okay, so maybe employment's not going to work here, but what can I do for me here?
Meanwhile, right.
And so I decided to go back to school. I got my master's degree in Colorado. So when I look at it, there was a lot of growth out of Colorado. And there was a lot of things that then prepared me for the next one, which leads me to California.
Okay.
So I'm taking you on this journey.
I love
right?
it. Let's go.
I get to California, and I had never at any of the prior bases, I get to California and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to the newcomers,
Yes.
thing. I'm going to go and
Yes.
see what this is. And I'm so glad I did, because I get to this base, and at this point I'm like, okay, I've been a military spouse like 7 years now, and I'm like, I don't need to go, but something said go to this newcomers thing. And I did, and they told me about programs that existed, services that were there. I got involved with the spouses club there, joined to be on their board of that. I mean, I got extremely involved. I became part of my spouse's detachment, like their they raise money for like their own like internal booster club. So I got involved with that. And I was just really living the like spouse, like what I would say spouse life.
Well, you're meeting so many people.
I did. I met so many people. I made a lot of friends. I grew my family there. So I had my daughter there, and which really like changed what I wanted in life.
Right.
And I started a photography business there. So I was, working for myself. I expanded my family. I was very involved with my community, and giving back. And it, so all of that was going well. But on the flip side, my husband's job, he was TDY like 260 days a year. That was his normal work flow. So for 3 years, on the flip side, I was like single, parenting, living, a very like separate life from my spouse because he was gone all the time. So, but it was the first time that I really like put myself out there.
Right. Well, and it's good that you did.
Yes. I did. And
filling that gap with what you needed.
Yes. And that assignment is what put me in with this military spouse of the year.
Okay.
It was through that assignment. It was a military spouse in that assignment that I had become, friends with.
Right.
And was like, she was way younger than me, but we became good friends, and our kids were the same age.
Okay.
Because I'm an old mom.
Oh.
I'm an old young mom. But
I don't believe it.
But she is the one who nominated me.
Okay.
So she never mentioned anything to me. It was just like I found out after the fact.
Right.
And I was thinking to myself, like, if I would have never stepped out of my comfort zone and met these military spouses and became friends and developed relationships and got involved, I would have never had this opportunity with MSOI.
Right. Right.
And so.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's been full circle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. And so when you were in college, so at this point, how long have you been a spouse?
So by the time I got to California, I was getting into that 8, 9, 10 mark.
Okay.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's phenomenal. And I mean, I love how involved and it seems like you weren't involved at the very beginning, but you didn't know really what to do.
Yeah, I didn't.
But it took even almost 10 years, 9 to 10 years to be like, well, I mean, you were in Colorado, but then once you got to California, you're like, you know what? I'm doing this. Like, I'm committing. Let's do this.
And it's kind of like, I always use the analogy of like the dating kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like when I got to Colorado, it was like, I kind of started dating military spouses a little bit.
Right.
Like, can I find one
that
I want to be friends with,
many military spouses.
but then when I got to California, it was like speed dating. It was like, how many can I meet?
Right.
Like, and how many can I develop relationships with and get involved with?
Right.
And
I love that. And when I'm going to plug a USO program, but in our military spouse networking programs, that's why I created it the way that I did, is because you go in and you speed network with other military spouses. And it's just because I know that as a military spouse, you could be at that base, for a year, for 2 years. I mean, it could be 3 years, but we don't have a lot of time. We don't want to take we want to make sure we're making friends immediately. So speed networking, speed friending, speed dating makes sense.
It's a great concept. I mean, I tell military spouses now that I meet, I missed out on so many opportunities in Mississippi. And the opportunity to, meet people, which I did meet people. It wasn't that I didn't meet people. It's that it really happened towards the end of the assignment. Yeah. And then I moved. Yeah. And the ones that I did meet from there, I'm still friends with today. Right. Like, I mean, I still communicate with and, help when I can. And we cannot talk to each other for like 6 months and pick up the phone and we're like, hey, and it's just like we talked yesterday kind of thing. So it did happen. It just, I got in my way
Right.
to the point that I didn't see what I could have had the whole time I was there.
Right.
And so now, you know, when I talk to military spouses, I'm like, you know, when you get there, just jump in.
Right.
Like, just jump in, because it's temporary.
Right.
Like, this is 1 to 3 years, depending on, you know,
Yeah.
branch of service and like what the assignment is. It's 1 to 3 years, and you just don't know what you can get in that 1 to 3 years.
Right.
You know,
and it's never too late. Like, even
No.
if you've been there for 2 years,
Go ahead.
just
Yeah.
jump in.
Today, just jump in.
Yes. Good. I love it. Okay. Let's see here. What do we have going on in here? I'm going to see if there's anything in the chat box we need to get to. Nope. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to actually open up the poll so that we kind of have another idea of who else is joining us, because it looks like we have a couple more people joining us. So I'm going to launch this poll, and if you all can actually just answer it once I launch it. We're going to ask, what military branch are you associated with? Where are you watching or listening to us from today? And how long have you been a military spouse? Just so we have an idea of who's with us. So it is live, and we'll watch that come in as you guys answer it. And then I'll share the results with you after the fact. Okay, so we got to the point of where you were nominated Military Spouse of the Year, and let's see here. Then you become Military Spouse of the Year.
Yes.
You win. The overall, like, you become the winner.
Yes.
What happens?
So it was really, so going back, actually, my Military Spouse of the Year journey started in 2016.
Okay.
And stepping back a little bit, so from California, we went to Arkansas.
Okay.
And during that assignment,
Wow.
that was the rough assignment. So I was pregnant with my son. We had orders to move. So I was like 8 months pregnant when we moved from California
So about
to Arkansas. Yes, about where you're at. And so, you know, like luck would have it, Murphy's Law, you know, right? So we get ready to move. I go into labor 3 weeks early. So right in the middle of the move, our belongings are on a truck somewhere in the United States. We detoured, you know, I deliver in Texas.
Yeah.
Because that's where my family's at. So I'm like, I don't have a home. Like, I have nowhere to go in Arkansas right now. So we hadn't had the close date and all of that on our house. So anyways, it was just like that. Everything that could happen happened.
Yeah.
Yes. And then my son was born. So he was born 3 weeks early. We were literally homeless. Our belongings were on a truck that, might you add, the driver of that truck from that company quit his job. He owned the truck, but not the trailer with our belongings. So he left the trailer on the side of the road, and thank goodness there was a tracking device that they could find. And we're able to locate our belongings. But we were surprised with our son that early, and he was born with Down syndrome.
Okay.
He completely surprised us.
Right.
And in addition to that, he was born with holes in his heart and several other conditions. And I got into like that. I reverted back into the like low part of just like being the hermit,
Sure.
getting the Little Rock, and not wanting to like be involved at all.
Right.
Because honestly, I was scared of military life. Now having a child like this, I was like, okay, how are we going to live military life? How are we going to have the resources we need? How are we going to have the services? Like, how am I going to single parent when you're gone? Like, all of this stuff flooded me.
Right.
And for the first time in my life, I knew and experienced what depression was. I had no idea what that was.
Right.
And never had experienced it. And through that is when my first nomination happened for MSWA.
Wow.
And it was the military spouse I had met in California.
Okay.
And really, it was kind of towards the end of my time at California. So we knew each other and adored each other, but we just didn't know each other that well.
Right.
We hadn't been friends that long. And so I get there, I get the nomination, and the first year I win for Little Rock Air Force Base.
Okay.
But I was kind of just coming out of a really rough year when that happened. But what it did is it gave me a voice that I had lost. Mm-hmm. And it gave me something to like look for and look forward to in Little Rock that I had lost in the process from California to Arkansas. And so that's when I just started getting really involved on the base again.
Good.
And was focusing on the special needs community, building playgrounds for special needs kids, working with the EF&P office on like parent liaison, like, you know, having the military base understand what the special need families needed instead of just creating programs that we didn't want or we didn't need. You know, they weren't right. So I did that. And then to my surprise, I was nominated the second year. And at that point, I had become back to the social butterfly, Brittany, involved in everything. So I was, you know, Spouses Club president. I was doing the EF&P thing. I was working and developing our nonprofit for Down syndrome in the community. So I was very, very involved and had my hands in a lot of different areas. And when I received the second nomination, I honestly thought about not accepting it because I was like doing really well where I was at. And and then my husband is the one who said, you need to do this. You need to just accept it and just see where it goes. And so I did, and I really didn't expect it to go
to where
anywhere, you know. And then to my surprise, I get the email that says, hey, you're in top 18. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
You know, because when you read all the other profiles of military spouses, you're like, they are doing incredible things in our community. Like, you guys are amazing. Every single military spouse I've met is amazing in what they're doing. And we all have a different passion of, you know, what we're doing. So I accepted. Top 18 happened. I start really kind of focusing my message on what I want to do for the community. And to my surprise, I get branch. I went for the Air Force. And I'm like,
go Air Force.
So, I know, go Air Force, you know. But it was still that surreal experience. And I really didn't believe in myself enough. I was like, why? I kept questioning, like, why did I get picked to do this?
Yeah.
And then I'm in DC for this amazing town hall week that comes up for Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year. And I'm with all these like spouses who are just knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
You know,
the energy in the room.
Yes. I mean, the energy is fantastic. The passion, what they're doing in their communities, and how what they do in their community is like changing the overall landscape for military spouses in our community. And so I had zero inclination that my name was going to get called. I really thought that Cassandra, who was the Army Spouse of the Year, I just felt in my heart, I was like, Cassandra's going to get.
You're waiting for her name, right?
And I was so ready to be like, yay, you know, go Cassandra, you know. And then my name was called, and it was just one of those things where I had made a promise to myself and to the rest of the branch winners that, you know, I was doing this for all of us because being the overall military spouse of the year, you're representing every branch, male, female, like just every military spouse that's out there. And so that journey took off really quick, and the opportunities that happened were just really, it was endless on what I wanted to put into it. Nothing, and for those people who don't know about the word, nothing just falls in your lap. I mean, it is work. You've got to put the work in, and I did. But it was Cassandra who, about 3 months into the award, said to me, and I didn't know I needed this, and I think a lot of military spouses need this. So, and you can take this or not, but I was out at an event with all 6 branch winners. And I had really wanted to keep doing stuff where it was all 6 of us, like, you know, together equally.
Buddy system, sure.
And Cassandra gave me permission that I didn't know I needed.
What'd she say?
And she said to me, you know, you were selected for a reason to be overall, and it's okay for you to go and do this. It's okay for you to step out and represent us.
Which you needed to hear.
And I needed to hear it. I didn't know I needed to hear it until I heard it. And I think for all the military spouses sitting around the world right now and doing whatever it is, like, it's okay for you to step into the light, to step out there and do something, to be brave, to have your voice heard, to make change happen. You know, it's okay. Like,
this is your permission.
This is your permission if you need it, or maybe you didn't know you needed it and you hear it now.
Right.
But it is okay to do that. And it is okay to put yourself first.
Yes.
That is one of the big things that I think we live so much for the mission.
Right.
so much for the geography, for the assignment, for the work tempo, that we forget that we are valuable and that we deserve to be put first too.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that we have things to offer.
Right.
And so there you go. This is your
love it.
permission. Go, rock our world in the military community.
Impress us.
Yes. I want to hear about it.
The movers and the shakers. I love it. Good. Okay. Well, let's see here. You guys did great with the poll. Let's end this poll, and I'll launch the results here and share it with you. So we have a majority of Army. We've got some Marines, Coast Guard, National Guard, and let's see here. I'll have to double check and see what our other is to see what we missed here. And then a lot of people are calling in or watching us from home. And I love the ones that are at work. Well done.
Yes.
And then I will have to see where everybody else is calling in from then as well. And then how long have you been a military spouse? We've got one that's less than a year, one that's 1 to 4. A majority of you are 5 to 8 years. And then I love to see, of course, the 9 to 13, 14 to 16 years, and then the 17 to 20. Yes. 3.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Excellent. And then longer than 20 years, we'll have to see what you guys are saying in there as well.
Bless you. Longer than 20 years.
Yeah. Well
Yes.
done. Yes. You're going to be our next interview subject.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you, everybody, for that. It's fun just to kind of see who we're talking with today. Okay, well, let's take a pause then on the Military Spouse of the Year, and just kind of go into some basic questions about you, and then we'll regroup back to what you're doing now.
Yes.
So I feel like a lot of spouses might, and you've probably been asked this question quite a bit, but what have you found to be the most challenging factor of being a military spouse, and how have you overcome that?
So the answer to that today is way different than what it would have been like 5 years ago for me. But for me, the biggest challenge is recognizing that I am the person that's in my own way. Mm-hmm. So while it might be difficult for me to get a job, or it might be difficult for me to find my spot to volunteer or advocate or childcare, all of these concerns that come up that are challenges, ultimately for me, what I've recognized is it's myself. It's myself that gets in the way of saying, no, you can't do that. And so it's taken me a long time. You know, I mean, it took me a long time in self-reflection and that hard conversation with myself saying, yeah, you know what? You were in Columbus, Mississippi, and job was a challenge, and geographic location was a challenge. But what did you do about it?
Exactly.
And I didn't do anything about it. Instead, I just sat there and was like, okay, yeah, this really stinks. Like, I don't like this assignment. I don't like anything. And so what I've come to learn is that it's me. Yeah. It's only me.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest challenge is myself.
Right. I'm like self-reflecting right now going, yes,
you know, but it is. It's ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
You know, self-reflection and understanding that maybe, you know, you're not achieving something or doing something to the best of your ability is really hard.
Right.
But when you get to that point to where you can say, you know what? Yeah, I stopped myself.
Right.
I've stopped doing what I'm passionate about, or I really didn't, you know, push myself to do this.
Right.
When you can like recognize it and accept it, then you have every opportunity to overcome it.
I love that.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I always say turn your challenge into an opportunity.
Right. Like, and take those challenges on. Yeah.
Take them. Those are opportunities.
Right. And then you grow.
You do. You grow. You grow. That's the best thing. So
good. Okay. What a great, what is today? Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
Yeah. What a great Wednesday morning motivation.
I know, right? Get through the hump day.
Yes. Yes. Or whenever you're listening to this. Okay. So, a lot of this we've already talked about, so I'm just going to see, let's jump into the workshop and the workbook.
Okay.
So you became Military Spouse of the Year. You went out and you started, you know, talking to spouses, and what did you find?
So the I guess kind of ironic thing about this is when I received the title of Military Spouse of the Year, the whole purpose was for me to go out and advocate for special need families. Like, that is what I was like, mission.
Right.
Because my child has special needs, and I saw the need for that. But what happened was life-changing for myself. So I got out, I started exploring bases, I started meeting military spouses, and I started listening. So instead of just going with the focus to speak to all of you and to talk to you about the special needs community, I started listening to what you had to say. Yeah. And there's so much in listening to somebody. And so I would leave a session and I would go home and journal about conversations I had with military spouses.
Yeah.
And after a couple of months, I realized, I'm hearing all these concerns out of our community, and the concerns were very similar. So it didn't matter if somebody was in Altus, Oklahoma, or if they were in Fort Bragg.
Sure.
Like, the concerns were the same. And then I thought to myself, okay, well, all of these concerns are coming up, but I want to know what the root problem of the concern was.
Right.
Because I'm like, if this is across the board, brand new spouse or 20-year spouse and remote location or in a metro location, like, there has to be a root problem to this.
Sure.
And so I took the time of journaling, going through highlighting words that were alike, circling things that were in common. And after my own research, I basically came to the conclusion that military spouses were struggling with identity because, when we didn't know who we are, right. We didn't know what we're passionate about, we didn't know what we wanted to do, then we had no idea how to seek and use a service.
Yeah.
So when I would hear well, there's no job for me, or I can't find a job, a lot of times it was the fact that you didn't know what job you wanted
Sure.
to have, and so you didn't know what to look for.
Right.
And so getting to the point of saying, okay, I know what I want, I know who I am, I know what I'm passionate about, and really taking the time to figure that out,
right.
Then helped understand what resources and services were available and how to use them.
I love that. Well, the fact that you bring up identity, it's crazy because last month's Coffee Connection, we talked about our research that we conducted for the Salute to Military Spouses. And one of the key insights that we found was that spouses around the world were focusing or had an issue with finding their identity, mm-hmm. and just realizing what they needed to do with that. So it's a kind of a good marriage between us that yes. we were able to connect, and that you created what you have now.
It's been such a it's been so good for me.
Right.
Working on the workbook and coming up with the content for the workbook, I had to go through my own self-reflection.
Right.
I had to do my own life inventory and say, okay, Brittany, you need to check yourself too. Here's
right. things
that are going on. And now I go back every few months to make sure, are you really doing, right. what you're passionate about and what your purpose is, and keeping your identity, because I think it's so easy for us to slip into that same thing. I'm a military spouse. Yes, you are.
Right.
And that is one label that you have. But that's not all who you are.
Right.
Are you passionate?
Mm-hmm.
Are you caring? Are you a servant person? Whatever all the things are that make you
right.
who you are,
right.
Not just I'm a military spouse.
Right.
And then figuring out what can you minimize and maximize in your daily life to achieve some of your passion and purpose.
Right.
Some people are able to do it for their jobs.
Sure.
Some can't. That's real reality. Some people they need to make an income to financially support their family, and that's completely understandable.
Right.
And if you're in that situation, how can you incorporate passion into your day?
Yeah.
Or your week?
Yep.
And what does it look like for you and your purpose?
Right.
So that you're not just saying, when I look at my week, 5% went towards something that I'm really passionate about or who I am, but 95% of it was on things that were filling my time and not filling my cup.
Right.
And that's a big thing for military spouses.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And like you said, you need to be able to focus on you. So,
mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, with that then, because you talked about your workbook a little bit, let's talk about your workbook.
Okay.
And so you created the workbook to basically share with military spouses about, what's it called? It's called...
So the workbook is, so it's Discovering Your Spark is the brand,
Okay.
basically. And then the workbook, here it is, if you haven't seen it, it's Find Your Color in a Camouflage World.
Okay.
And the workbook itself, this was not something I did independently.
Okay.
The content was my project, my idea, but I knew that I could not display it the way that I wanted. I'm a very like checklist person,
Yeah.
so it's very hard for me to like do like graphic design and that kind of thing. So a fellow military spouse, Molly Bennett,
Great.
she did the graphics for this workbook to help it come to life.
Yeah.
And so it was really a passion project between she and I, and we really knocked it out in like a month.
I love
We
it.
just sat down and like put the ideas to paper and had it come through. But the workbook walks you through and helps you do the life inventory, you know, in order. So it takes you back to like, who were you before you became a military spouse?
Right.
Like, what did you enjoy? What did you love to do? How did you identify yourself? And then it works you through to where you are today.
Okay.
And discusses like life challenges, life moments, what you can minimize and maximize in your
I
life,
like that.
what you're naturally good at,
Mhm.
and where you are today. So a lot of people will be like, well, I'm naturally an athletic person, but I am not doing anything athletic today.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, what happened
Right.
between that, you
Yeah.
know? So it's really just lets you get into answering these questions. Sometimes they're hard questions. Sometimes it's easy.
Right.
But it's, if you can be honest with yourself, you're going to see amazing growth come
Right.
out of the book.
And when I like this, because it's, when do you really spend time just focusing on you and writing down everything like that?
Yeah.
You know, so this is good because it makes time for you
Yes.
to do that.
And I'll tell you, there are some days where the only time for myself is 10 minutes in the bath.
Yeah.
And I actually will sometimes take this in there
Yes.
and just read one thing and be like, okay, like this is the only time. And my kids' fingers are under the door,
Oh,
you know, but I'm like, no,
right. Yes.
I have 10 minutes by
This is
myself.
me time.
Stop.
Right. Yes. I love that.
But, you know, and so not every day is going to be a day where you're living 100% passion and purpose. That's unrealistic. But I think recognizing that it's something you're working towards,
Right.
you know, progress, not
Yeah.
perfection,
Right.
and just working towards is going to make a huge difference in your life.
Yeah.
And what I really stress to military spouses, and this is good for any person, but I used to be one of the people when people be like, you need to think positive. You need to think positive. I would be like, stop telling me. There's nothing positive about this space. There's nothing, you know. But now that I look back, I'm like, it's so true, because what you think,
Right.
you know, the way you think when you get up in the morning and how you think really affects the way you feel as a person. And then how you feel affects your actions and behaviors. So, you know, I look back 10 years ago and I'm like, yeah, I was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I was unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way I thought really affected how I felt as a person.
Right.
And I wasn't doing anything.
Right.
Like I was making things miserable with me and my husband too. You know,
Right.
I recognize it. But now, yes, I have challenges and struggles like everybody else. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that's different between me and the next spouse next to me is that I choose to get up in the morning and say, yes, my son's got 8 hours in the hospital today and it's going to be rough. But you know what? Like he's doing good. He's healthy. I'm alive. You know, there's a lot to be thankful for today. And I just really changed the mindset so that I feel better and I just do better.
Yeah.
Period.
I love that. Yep.
So write that down if you can. The way you think affects the way you feel, affects your actions and behaviors.
She's a master at journaling too. So.
Oh yeah. I used to not. Now I love it.
Right. No, but
I don't doodle though.
No doodling.
No, it's just work.
I think my journal would be all doodling, and it would be horrible doodling. But Well, due to time, let's go ahead and talk about the workshops real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll go to some questions with the group. And I'll check and see if we've got any in there quite yet. So the workshop, we teamed up with Brittany to do workshops called Discovering Your Spark. And we don't even really want to call it a workshop. It's like hands-on, roll your sleeves up and let's talk about your passion, your purpose, and everything like that. So let's talk about your experience real quick, how that's been going.
It has been amazing.
Awesome.
I mean, the feedback, the testimonials, the experiences in the room with the military spouses that I've been able to meet so far has been so rewarding to just me personally, like, to hear. I mean, I have military spouses who were like in a point where they were so miserable at the base that they were at, and after coming to the workshop, they're like, okay, I know what I need to do.
Right.
And now they have followed up with me and they're like, guess what? I got a job on base and I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. And thank you for, getting me out of my rut.
Yeah.
And really, I'm not doing the work. I'm just providing you an opportunity to network, to take that deeper look, to have somebody help say, I'm here with you, to give you kind of the template guide to do it. I mean, you have to do the work.
Right.
But getting all the spouses in the room and hearing one open up and then another one open up and then the conversation just happens.
Right.
It's amazing. And the growth.
The spouses it's not just them. Everybody's feeling, something.
Yes.
So.
And so far, just the feedback of, seeing a spouse who was like not doing anything for herself and is now saving to be a photographer and what she's doing, progress towards that. I mean, obviously she's not going to wake up tomorrow and start a photography business, but she's on a path and it's for her, for nobody else.
Right.
It's what she wanted to do, and so just seeing that happen with spouses is incredible. And just seeing the ones with all this potential to do come out of their shell is amazing.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, and we're going to be with Brittany the rest of the year with these workshops. To see when an upcoming workshop is, you can go to our website. And Danielle, our producer, who I actually haven't given a shout out to quite yet, she's the one talking to all of you in the chat box. Danielle will be able to give you the link on where to go. It's uso.org/military spouse. And you'll be able to see where Brittany's going next on the Discovering Your Spark tour.
Yes.
So great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. This has been great. And so I've asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So let's see what our group on the phone, see what questions we have there. And I don't see any open questions yet. So please start to type in your questions if you have any questions for Brittany. And then we will make sure that we get them answered for you. We'll just hang tight. Okay. From Valerie, Brittany, will you be attending the MSOI event this year?
I will. I will be at MSOI, and I will actually, I don't want to give too much away, but I will be giving a presentation at MSOI. So I hope to see, some of you there at this event. It's going to be a wonderful event.
Yeah. And when is it?
Spouses. So it starts May 7th.
Okay.
And the event is actually the 8th and 9th.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's a big week. So for those that don't know about the MSOI week, it's kind of turned into this MSOI week. And there's so many other things that go on that week. So there's Hiring Our Hero event that goes on. There's the AMPA gala that goes on.
Okay.
This year, the Navy League is doing their stuff that week. So there's a lot going on in DC that week to be involved in.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Great.
Valerie wants to meet you.
Come find me. You know what I look like, so come find me.
Oh, thank you for that, Valerie. Are there any other questions out there? Okay. So, Brittany, I feel like we all have so many passions and interests. How do you solidify what passion to listen to and follow? And how do you balance your career with home life? Excellent question, Sonia.
So I'm going to start with the second part of this question, and this is the balance piece. So I learned a long time ago for me that it was unrealistic to think of balancing home life and career because there just wasn't enough hours in the day to be able to say, balance equal. Am I spending 8 hours in my job and 8 hours at home? never would work out. So what I like to do is I like to use the word harmony. I just want to be in harmony daily. So I got rid of balance. I felt like it was too much pressure on myself to try to balance. And so I'm just like in harmony. When my family is content and happy, and my work is content and happy. And for me, contentment is definition of success. Okay. If I'm just content at the end of the day, that's success for me. And so I just try to get that perfect blend of harmony going on in my life. And sometimes it takes going back to this workbook and saying, I'm going to jot down my daily schedule, and I'm going to see in this daily schedule, how much am I doing that's filling my cup, and how much am I doing that's filling my time? And when I look at that, if that does not look in harmony for me, then I have to take that hard look and decision and say, what am I going to minimize and what am I going to maximize right now? Right. And I talk about that in my workshop where I say, you know, at a point in my life when I was Spouses Club president and I was the liaison for the EFMP and I had formed a nonprofit, you know, and I was doing, I was filling my time. Right. None of those were actually filling my cup. And I had to make the hard decision to tell the Down syndrome community, you know what, yes, I have a child with Down syndrome, but I don't get to enjoy one event with him because I'm working every one of them. Right. I haven't got to go and be with my son. Yeah. And I can't do this right now. I have to step back. You know, I had to go to the Spouses Club and say, I've enjoyed being your president, but I want to empower military spouses. I don't want to operate a board meeting. Right. And so making that tough decision to say, this isn't where I belong right now. So that's the balance piece. And the other part of that question was your passions and interests. So the good thing with this workbook is it helps you really identify what your passions and interests are and develop a why. The key to this is understanding your why, because sometimes as military spouses, things look different for us. Right. So for me, I was so passionate in being a servant person. I mean, my undergraduate degree is in nonprofit. I knew I wanted to be in the nonprofit world. I always looked at that. Well, then I look forward at today, and I'm not in the nonprofit world. I'm not an executive. I'm not working for a nonprofit. But the why, I am meeting the why 100%, and it just looks different. Right. So it's going to take some time for you to really sit down, write out those passions, write out the interests, write down the why, so that you can see, okay, this is why I'm interested in all of these things. What realistically does that look like for me today? You know? Yeah. And because there's always more than one role that meets those whys for you. So I hope that answered your question for that.
I love it. Okay, good. Thank you, Sonia. And then next question, where can we get one of your workshop books or the workbooks? I'm sorry. Can you recommend a good journal or book to find your spark?
So on the, we'll start again, second part of this with the journal. So I have so many journals, and some of them are literally journals that I got from trade shows, like, you know, that I visited and I just picked up off a table. Sometimes I want to journal in something that really like speaks to me, that, you know, I look at it and I'm just like, oh, this just makes me feel so good. When I look at this book, I want to pick it up. Right. And so it's really what you need. Now, some people need prompting. Right. They need a page that has a prompt on them. So I would just suggest going online and searching like journals with prompts so that can help you. A lot of times I search for personal growth journal or goal setting journals to get something that, you know, helps prompt, because I'm one of those people that need prompts. I need to just be like, how do I get words on this paper, you know? So that's what I would suggest on finding a journal, but really it's just picking up something that you can write in. And I'll let you know right now I'm on a new kick with journaling. I just purchased a journal to write notes to my daughter. And so my goal is to keep this journal for like the next 15 years. Right. And I write her literally like, dear, my daughter's Harper, dear Harper notes. And so we had a really rough day the other day, and I wrote in it about the rough day. And I just said, you're a very strong-willed child. You are these things, but you are just so amazing. And And yes, it's been hard. And
Right.
yes, today was a hard day, but I want you to read back on this and know when you're a mom,
Right.
that it's you might have these hard days and it's okay. Like
Yeah.
we don't love any less or anything. So
My pregnancy hormones are going to kick in. That's so sweet,
I'm writing her like, letters to my daughter, and I'm dating them, and I don't do it every day. It's just when something really moves me where I'm like, I want her to know how I felt about
and
this.
She'll love that.
And so, yes, my goal is to either give it to her when she graduates high school or when she gets married and grows, whatever big life moment is the time to give it to her. I just want her to have all those notes for me and letters. So that's something that I'm doing. And then as for the workbook, currently the workbook you can only get the workbook through a live workshop right now. We're exploring other avenues on how to get the information from the workbook for people who can't attend a workshop.
Right.
But we haven't really figured that out yet.
We'll get there. And we'll make sure we let you know when that does become available, whether it be in a virtual space or something else where we can get it out to you. We'll definitely let everyone know. But for now, make sure that you are following your local USO Facebook page. And if you don't have a local USO, then just follow our regular USO worldwide Facebook page, and we'll make sure to push the information out through that.
Perfect.
Excellent. Okay. And let's see. What can someone do in the meantime to discover our spark until we might be able to attend a workshop?
So
I like that question.
I know, and that's one of the things we've also been talking about is I am going to start doing on my Facebook page, so the my own personal public page,
and we have the link for that
Facebook page. I'm going to start trying to do a weekly kind of motivation empowerment prompt that would help you start this process and give you tips on what to write down and maybe just where to start to get your mind going. That's something we've talked about as a way to help spouses that are, at home and they're not able to attend a workshop. But really, I encourage you, the best starting place is to get a sheet of paper, get your journal, and put down who you were or who you wanted to be in both before you became a military spouse. Yeah. And then explore the why. The why is what's most important of that. Yeah. And so explore the why and then marinate on that for a while.
Yeah.
Just let it sink in as to why you wanted to be those things. So that's where I'm going to just leave you with that first thing, because I don't want to overwhelm you with next steps, but follow me, follow the USO to get more, prompts and feedback on how you can continue to grow and move forward in this journey.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for that question. All right. We'll see if there's any other questions that come in. We are almost at time. So I did want to do a couple of shout outs here. Our special delivery program, which is a baby shower that we conduct with Heidi Murkoff, the author of What to Expect When Expecting. Yes. She is going on tour with us. The tour starts I believe either this weekend or starting next week. And she's kicking off the 2019 tour in Naples, Italy. So if you are interested in seeing where Heidi Murkoff is going to be, it's for expectant mothers and then 6 months postpartum. So if you're in that window, or if you know a military spouse in that window, have them check out our webpage. Danielle's going to put the link in there for you as well, where you can check it out. But if you have a pen and paper, it's uso.org. Let's see here, I wrote this down, special delivery. So again, uso.org/special delivery, and you'll be able to see where the 2019 tour will be this year. It's a lot of fun, and it's just great for those military moms that might not be able to fly home or get home for their own personal baby shower. This is a baby shower we throw for all of you together, and it's a lot of fun, and Heidi is a wealth of knowledge. So we hope you can join us at one of those. And then also our next Coffee Connection is going to be April 1st. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's with Ellen Dunford, and we're going to do it at Quarter 6. So we're really excited. That's where she lives. The house is very historical. So we're really excited about that. And
she's just a phenomenal person.
She's phenomenal. Yes. So mark your calendars for April 1st, and we'll make sure to send that information out for you. are out to you as well for that. And I don't see any other questions coming in, but if you do have any other questions, please email us at programs@uso.org, and we'll make sure to get those over to Brittany. Any last remarks or anything like that?
No, I just really just to kind of reiterate to you guys, like just the mindfulness, the how you think, how you feel, and you know, look at challenges as opportunities to turn your can'ts into cans. So that's kind of my motto in my house. Like, and I tell my daughter too, I'm like, oh, no. Don't say you can't do it. We can. We're just going to figure out a way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think if you look at challenges as opportunities, and those are opportunities to turn a can't into can, it's just a positive way of thinking, and you're going to see a huge change in how daily life is.
Good. Well, thank you
Thanks
so much for this. This has been a
you.
lot of fun. Hope you all enjoyed your time as well, and we hope to see you at the next Coffee Connection next month. Thanks, everybody.